Hello there, and welcome to February. I can't believe it's February already. This month, we're going to be talking around your relationship with food, which I think is a hot topic this time of year. A lot of people who have decided they're going to lose some weight or eat better or exercise more, or do whatever. So I think it's pretty timely to talk about. But what I want to talk about today is, why did I eat that? Understanding your relationship with food. So, our relationships with food, it's a lot deeper than just the fuel for our bodies. Most animals just eat for fuel, but as humans, right, we eat for so many other reasons. We eat when we're bored, we eat when we're tired, we eat for joy. It makes us feel good. It's a cultural thing, it's tradition, it's socialization, that sort of thing. We have lots of different reasons why we eat, and we tend to have a lot of rules around food too, I think. What's good, what's bad, what does it mean to us, what does a treat mean, all of those sorts of things. And I know a big one for me is that a connection that I make is that food is family. It's always been about, comfort and connecting and coming together and laughing and chatting and celebrating and all of those things. I grew up in a house, my family's Italian, so I grew up in a house where we had a guy deliver fresh bread to our house, we had an egg lady, we even had a pop guy, we had a the Vita Gingerella guy who would bring pop to our house. We always had fresh vegetables in the backyard, a huge garden. So food, I really early on started to associate food with just comfort and family. And it was a really hard habit to break. And so some of our rules, I think the comfort associating with family is a good thing, but some of the things that come out of it can be healthy or unhealthy. It took me forever to break that connection with bread, which, maybe you can relate to. So I would say I'm kind of a work in progress. But I think before we can develop a healthy relationship with food, we really have to understand what our relationship is right now. So what I wanted to do is just go over 3 questions that you can kind of ask yourself and think about to figure out what your relationship with food is like. Because once you know what your relationship with food is, what it means to you, how you use it, that sort of thing, then you can start to think about what other choices you could make if that's something, that you want to do. So, and always remembering that, the healthy relationship with food is more really about, it's not really about what you put in your body, it's about sort of the why, the reasoning, the connection behind it, right? And how that relates to kind of what you've experienced in your life, I think. So before I get into those questions, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Nancy Brooker. I'm a relationship and stress coach. I help women who are stuck in a challenging relationship, whether it's with food or self or a partner, a coworker, a friend, a family member, whatever that is. A challenging relationship that you just feel stuck and you can't really figure out how to move forward. And just to help you bring clarity to that relationship and bring more joy and ease and connection into your life so you can just experience more joy and ease, right? So remember, these questions, before we get into them, they're not meant to label anything as good or bad. They're just meant to tease out sort of the purpose, as we said, that fuel serves for you, the food serves for you in your life, and so that you can decide if you want to make different choices. So the first question kind of has 2 parts. The first part is, how are you feeling just before you eat? Because we eat for a lot of different reasons. Maybe you're bored, maybe you're stressed, maybe you're hungry, maybe you're emotional, maybe you're thirsty, maybe you're fidgety like Antsy, just needs something to do with your hands or whatever. What is that? What is that food doing for you? What does it mean for you? What is it serving? What purpose is it serving in that moment? And I think this is a really hard one sometimes to answer because I don't know if you're like me, maybe you're not, but sometimes when you go to reach for something, it's not really a conscious thing. You're just reaching for it, and it's not really until afterwards that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have have eaten that, or oh, I've got this going on, this dinner going on after it would have been great to wait, or whatever that is. Um, Sometimes it's hard to think about that beforehand, but if you can, might be a good thing to have a little notebook, have a little journal, write it down if you can have the mindfulness, the presence to think about that in the moment. That's really great because you'll get a lot of really great insight into yourself. I know for me, like some of the most difficult times would be, well, of course, when I'm stressed. But the biggest one for me, I think, is in front of the TV, just mindless eating in front of the TV, right? On a weekend where you're just having chips or something. So those are the types of things to think about for yourself. Or I know for me too, after work, before dinner, if I don't have a healthy snack there ready, then I might reach for something that maybe is not as healthy, without even thinking about it, just reaching. So always thinking about those kinds of things. And then, how do you feel after eating certain foods? Not just physically, which of course physically you might feel not great. I know I love, love, love pizza, but it doesn't love me, and I don't feel great physically after I eat it. But also emotionally, like, do you feel like guilty, or do you feel satisfied? Do you feel like shameful? Do you feel regretful of having done that? Maybe you've assigned some kind of morality to your food, which we'll talk about next. Um, so, like I said, for me, it's things like pizza or ice cream, which I know how they make me feel, and I know how I feel afterwards, regretting having done it. So I try and do it in moderation. I try to be a bit more mindful about those things. But just taking notes and starting to get to know yourself better. What are your triggers? Maybe you're triggered after arguments you eat. Maybe that's a coping mechanism. Whatever that is for you, just try and start getting an understanding of yourself. The second one is, have you assigned a morality to your food? Do you label foods as, good or bad? I should avoid that. I should restrict that, or I need to eat more of this, or the studies show that when you over restrict food, it actually makes you feel more deprived and can actually lead to a binge. So you got to be really careful how you're labeling foods. Are you choosing foods? Are you hiding food from other people? Are you choosing foods that make you feel really good? How are you choosing your foods? How are they making you feel? What morality have you assigned to those? And then the last question is, do you feel like you're in tune with your body? Do you pay attention to your hunger signals? Do you know when it's actually hunger versus thirst? Do you stop when you're full? Are you really in tune with your body? Sometimes we're all human. We all do it. We just keep eating. Because we're not in tune with how full we are. We are eating too fast, especially in today's society where we're eating really fast, so we don't notice our hunger cues. So just kind of sitting and being really conscious of how we're feeling would be, are you doing that? So, and our relationship with food, I think, is different in different situations. But I think the most important thing is, really the emotion around your food. How do you feel around food? Are you shameful? Are you regretful? Are you, stressed? Whatever. Like that sort of cycle of food is the one that you might want to start working on if that's how you're feeling. If that's sort of your go-to emotion relationship around food. So a healthy relationship might look like, eating foods in moderation, like really anything in moderation. And just feeling like you can have it or not have it. Like it's not, calling to you must have sort of thing. Although we're all human, so we've all got something that's like that. And just realizing that, food doesn't define us as a person, what we eat. It's just something we fuel ourselves with. It's a behavior. So it doesn't mean you're a good or a bad person. It just means, think about whatever choices you're making. You might be wanting to make different choices. You might not be. So over the next, remembering that we are all perfectly imperfect humans. So over the next few weeks, we'll talk about how to build a healthier relationship with food. We'll talk about mindful eating, intuitive mindful eating, and we'll talk about emotional freedom techniques, EFT tapping, and how it can help eliminate those food cravings for you and identify those beliefs and emotions that might be keeping you stuck in a food rut. So those three questions: how do you feel before? How do you feel after? Have you assigned some sort of morality to it? Are you in tune with your body? Think about those, and then we'll chat again next week when we'll talk about ways to improve your relationship with food. So I'd love to hear, your comments, any suggestions for future, recordings, and shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Join me over on Facebook at Living in Yes. Grab your freebies down below, and I'd love to hear from you. So talk to you soon. Take good care.